Is this his last dance? Isiah Thomas. Isiah Thomas, Boston Celtics King of the Fourth, the team's heart and soul, the tip of the spear in leading the charge against peak King James. The last pick in the draft who once outclassed and outdid Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Anthony Davis in the MVP race. The 5'9" guy also outscored every MVP candidate in 2017 other than the two finalists, James Harden and Russell Westbrook. The guy who everybody loved just played his first NBA game after being out of the league for almost 2 full years. Is this his last shot at the NBA? Since he wore number 4, let's unpack that question in 4 chunks. The improbable rise. Let's start with one fundamental, undying truth about Isiah Thomas. Right from the jump, it became very clear that he is not going to just wait for an opportunity. Instead, he'll hunt for it. And once he sees it, he'll track it down and won't look back. Originally drafted the 60th pick by the Sacramento Kings, in just a few games, he effectively snatched the starting spot from the team's 10th pick, Jimmer Fredette, of that year. Kids may not believe this, or might just laugh at this fact now, but Jimmer Fredette is the real deal in college. He was basically anointed Steph Curry before Steph Curry became the Steph Curry we know now. But that's a story for another day. He'll go on to score multiple 20-point games, 3 double-doubles, and more importantly, jumpstart the Sacramento Kings offense that earned him 7th place in Rookie of the Year voting. Checking his stats now and figuring out that he only averaged a shade below 12 points and a measly 4 assists might not look all that impressive. But you have to remember this Sacramento Kings is stacked with a collection of talented young players like Tyreke Evans, who is just 2 years removed from his Rookie of the Year campaign. An up-and-coming young bull in DeMarcus Cousins, a lethal scoring 2-guard in Marcus Thornton. And even with all that, our guy burst out on the scene and finished as one of the more impressive rookies in a stacked draft class. And as we all know, he was just warming up at this point. In his second season, he slowly improved his scoring and dropped multiple 30-point games. One notable game that season specifically was when he got cooking for 7 threes, 7 assists, and 31 points in Steph Curry's face. Talk about a preview of how much shine he has when the light is at its brightest. But his third season was when he forced the league to really take notice that he is a force to be reckoned with his assists, steals, rebounding, efficiency, and scoring, all at career highs at that point. His scoring especially jumped from 13.9 points per game to 20.3 points per game, and doing it in a developing offensive repertoire. And although this stat is not that discussed, if you dig the numbers of the 2013-2014 season, he even laps Kyrie Irving in win shares. Kyrie was the #1 pick in their draft class and was an all-star that season, outdone by IT's 7.7 versus his 6.6. Some bumps here and there happened after his third season, and one obvious reason for that is the Sacramento Kings being the Sacramento Kings. They sent the soon-to-be MVP candidate to the Phoenix Suns in exchange for cap space that they used to sign Darren Collison. Yeah, I know, stop smirking. This is the exact decision-making prowess that made them draft Bagley over Luka. Anyway, after getting sent to the Valley, our guy IT found himself in a disadvantageous position again, getting buried in a trio of a 3 starting caliber point guard roster. That trio being Goran Dragic, Eric Bledsoe, and him, third in the pecking order. But fear not, because a little twist in the story is about to unfold. The Immaculate Peak. Of course, when I say a little, I really mean a lot, to put it lightly. You see, getting smacked to the ground after a season of averaging north of 20 points and more than 6 assists a game to be the 6th man is not that awesome. But not for IT. Just like he always does, the moment he sees an opportunity, he'll grab it and not let that thing go. Listening to how he chronicled this in his All the Smoke interview just confirms all of that.
So then I get traded there, and then I just, genuinely it worked out. Like, they needed somebody like me. I needed somebody like them that was gonna give me a chance to go rock out. And then I was able to do that. Brad put the ball in my hands. It was, for 3 years, it was everything I dreamed of.
That IT trade to the Celtics was a big boost from the get-go. He got his first win as a Celtic against the recent team who cut ropes with him, with a 4-point dagger late in the fourth. But more importantly, his presence on the team propelled the Celtics to a late-season surge and pushed them straight up to the 7th seed. Take that in, from a depressing 20-31 record all the way to the playoffs. Although it looks like they're just getting there just to be swept by the Cavs, that run was nothing to be ashamed of. IT and the Celtics even carried that momentum the following year, finishing 5th in the Eastern standing and sending Isaiah Thomas to Toronto for his first All-Star game. One fond moment to remember about this team in 2015-16 is that they landed one of the 9 losses to the infamous 73-9 Warriors. And why are we mentioning this? Isaiah's final second layup with 10.2 seconds left delivered the knockout punch to the Warriors on their home floor. But let's get to the peak of peaks, to 2016-17, the season when Isaiah Thomas was clearly the ordained leader of the surging Boston Celtics. And then, even better, he was crowned the King of the Fourth. And for good reason. He's had 4 games where he scored 20 points in the fourth, 13 games where he scored 15 points, and 29 games where he scored at least 10 in the final quarter. And even more notable up to now, 7 years after, Isaiah Thomas still holds the record for most fourth-quarter points in a season. Take a second and let that sink in. With all the scoring boom from Luka, Joel Embiid, and Devin Booker, just to name a few, no one has done it better in the fourth than IT. I guess big things do come in small packages. To add context to how dominant that Isaiah Thomas season was, his scoring of 28.9 points per game, 26.5 player efficiency rating, and 12.6 win share is better than Steph's 25.3 points per game, 24.6 player efficiency rating, and 12.5 win share. Kyrie's 25.2 points per game, 23 player efficiency rating, and 8.9 win share. CP3's 18.1 points per game, 26.2 player efficiency rating, and 10.6 win share. And Dame's 27 points per game, 24.1 player efficiency rating, and 10.4 win share. Not too shabby for a guy way shorter than all the others. As if being 5'9" is not enough of a disadvantage. Despite everything, he continued his dominance in the postseason. And I mean everything. He toughened up every bit of himself and played the day after his sister died in a car accident. He charged a comeback from being down 0-2 to eliminate the Bulls in the first round, with the second round being even bloodier, considering this is a mid-2010s Celtics-Wizards matchup. He literally lost a tooth in the first quarter of the game and basically played with blood in his lips the entire game, only to drop 33 points and 9 assists. The next game, it was his late sister China's 23rd birthday. Clearly, there's something IT tapped into as he dropped 52 points. This game was really special, to say the least, but looking back at it now, it surely is something else. Mainly because this is the last magical moment of Isaiah Thomas in a Boston Celtics jersey. The sharp descent. After an intense playoff series win against the Wizards, the NBA thought this was just the start of the most improbable NBA underdog story. A bunch of hungry young pit bulls in Avery Bradley, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, budding Scary Terry, and Mr. Game 7 Kelly Olynyk, led by the most implausible star. However, what everyone never saw coming, even IT himself, was an injury that crumbled his once promising career into just a long series of melancholy. Honestly, the news was really confusing, and the kind that really needs sorting and parsing to get to the substantial part. Because if you followed this story, months before the playoffs, there have been little injuries that might have been symptoms of the actual injury itself. At first, there was this groin injury, and then a right knee bone bruise, until finally, the official injury was discovered to be femoroacetabular impingement that resulted in a torn labrum. So did the Celtics make a mistake? It's safe to say so. But was the error entirely avoidable? I say not necessarily. From how it looks, it might just appear compact and nothing to be worried about. Yet in some cases, the problem goes beyond what the series of tests can capture. The excruciating final years. As a basketball fan who finds his elusive coordination with his hang dribble and pristine footwork, especially from a closed stance, something to behold, his dumbfounding high-arching layups and hook shots, the knee-jerking step-backs, long-range bombs, and fearless drives are such a thing of beauty and such a big loss to the game. Isaiah Thomas played for 9 teams since the 2017-18 season. His last few years have been a constant, hard-fought battle against nagging injuries and growing competition for NBA roster spots. Now, at 34, the fight to have a permanent place in an NBA team's rotation is only getting tougher and tougher. But hey, our guy IT has always defied expectations. Even with his meager figure, stood shoulder to shoulder against the biggest stars of this generation. He's probably already a cult figure in the history of Pro-Am, scoring 65 points in Atlanta, and just a few days after torching defenders in Seattle with 81 points. In this year, before signing with the Suns, he played for the Salt Lake City Stars in the G League, where he averaged 32.5 points on 44.6% three-point shooting and 5.3 assists. He just signed his second 10-day contract with the Suns, and though he played just 2 out of the 5 games, while averaging 2.5 points, 1 assist, 4.5 minutes per game on 50% from distance and 40% overall shooting in his first 10-day contract, after being originally brought back to bring backcourt depth, clearly, the Suns, who are currently fighting for their playoff spot in the West, saw something in him that is of value. Before we end, maybe it's also worth asking what he is playing for. To be a part of a playoff rotation? Because that's a long way to go. Or is he just trying to squeeze the last drop of water from the well? Because if he's trying to squeeze every last ounce of NBA basketball left in him, he already accomplished his goal and inspired a lot of fans along the way. What are some of your favorite IT moments? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe for more.